The wind roared louder than gunfire, whipping against his face as he dangled from the open door of the helicopter. Below him stretched a jungle of endless green, hiding both enemies and ghosts of his past. "You're finished, old man," the voice shouted behind him, cruel and confident. A boot slammed into his chest and the world turned upside down. He fell. The veteran's name was Jack Mercer, a single father, a man who'd served his country for 20 years and lost nearly everything in return: his brothers in arms, his peace, his wife. But not his will to live. As he tumbled through the air, memories of his daughter flashed through his mind: her laugh, her tiny hands clinging to his sleeve, her last words that morning, "Come home, Daddy." Promise? When he hit the ground, it was with a force that should have shattered him. But it didn't. Dust exploded around his body, and for a few seconds there was silence, only the echo of the helicopter fading into the clouds. Then, through that silence, a sound broke: a heartbeat. Strong. Defiant. He opened his eyes. He was still alive. Not a single bone broken. Not a drop of blood spilled. People had called him many things in his life: Marine, father, hero, broken. But that day, when he stood up from the crater he made in the dirt, he became something else: unbreakable. Hours earlier, Jack had been on a mission he never should have accepted. A private security firm had hired him to extract a hostage from a jungle war zone. The pay was high enough to clear the last of his debts, enough to give his daughter a better life. But he didn't know the men he was working with had other plans. They weren't rescuing anyone. They were smuggling weapons. When Jack discovered the truth, they decided to make him disappear. Accidents happen in the field. Their leader had sneered before pushing him from the chopper, but fate had other plans. Jack stumbled through the jungle, every muscle aching but his mind burning with one thought: get home to Lily. He moved like a ghost, trained instincts guiding him through traps and sniper fire. He had nothing but his knife, a compass, and the determination of a father who refused to die before keeping his promise. Night fell. Rain poured. He built a fire under the thick leaves, the flames flickering against his scarred face. For the first time in years, tears rolled down his cheeks, not from pain, but from the memory of his little girl's birthday coming in 2 days. "I'm coming home, baby," he whispered to the dark, but the jungle wasn't silent for long. The men from the helicopter had returned to make sure he was dead. Jack heard the rotor blades miles away and knew they'd be sweeping with night vision. He had 2 choices: hide and pray or stand and fight. He chose both. Jack set up decoys, traps, and false trails. When the chopper landed and the mercenaries spread out, he struck from the shadows, one by one, silent and precise. Years of training came back like muscle memory. By dawn, he was the last man standing. The others lay unconscious, their weapons disabled, their leader staring at him in shock. "You're supposed to be dead," the man gasped. Jack looked down at him, rain dripping from his jaw. "Yeah," he said, voice calm as steel, "but I promised my daughter I'd come home." He turned and walked away, leaving the man alive, because revenge wasn't his mission. Survival was. Redemption was. 2 days later, Jack limped onto his front porch, dirty, exhausted, and half-starved, but smiling. When Lily ran out the door and jumped into his arms, all the pain vanished. "Daddy," she cried, her little voice trembling with joy. "You came back." He held her close, breathing in her scent, whispering, "Always." The story of that fall spread across the internet months later, through whispers, news clips, and military forums. Some called it a miracle. Others said it was impossible. But for those who knew Jack, it wasn't luck that saved him. It was love. He returned to his simple life, never speaking publicly about what happened. But sometimes, late at night, he'd step outside and look at the stars, the same ones he saw through the helicopter door before he fell. He'd think about how close he came to disappearing, how one act of betrayal led to a second chance at life. Jack never sought fame or revenge. He found peace in being a father again, in reading bedtime stories instead of mission briefings, in teaching his daughter that true strength isn't in how many battles you win, it's in how many times you stand back up after being thrown down. And if you're watching this now, remember, life will push you from helicopters too. Maybe not literally, but in ways that make you fall hard and fast. When that happens, think of Jack Mercer. Think of the man who stood up without a scratch, not because he was indestructible, but because he had something worth standing for. If his story moved you, if it reminded you to keep fighting, to protect what you love, and to rise every time life knocks you down, then don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe for more stories that remind us heroes aren't born on battlefields. They're made when they refuse to stay down.